Greetings and good tidings, fourth graders. Today we are going to be talking about adding decimals. Yesterday I know that you worked with Mrs. Nichols on adding whole numbers, and adding decimals is very similar. Whoops. So the first thing that we need to do when we're adding decimals is we need to make sure that all of our places are aligned, because there may be times where we have to annex, which means add, a 0 to a blank placeholder or to a blank place value, just like Mrs. Herrera and I had done earlier in our comparing numbers review. Now, what tool have we been using that is really helpful for this? Our place value chart. Place value charts can really help us to make sure that everything is aligned. When we are adding, we are going to start from the right and we're going to work our way left. So it's the opposite of what we were doing when we were comparing and ordering numbers. Let's go ahead and try a few practice problems together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the sum of this problem below. The sum is the answer to an addition problem. So I have 5.8 plus 3.7. Do you all remember how to say those numbers? 5 8/10 plus 3 7/10. So when I look at these numbers, I see that I have my ones, a decimal, and the tenths place. So those are going to be the places I add into my place value chart. My ones with my capital O, my decimal point, and my tenths with my lowercase t/th. I will plug the numbers into the place value chart, and then I will get started with my addition. I start from the right and see 8 plus 7. 8 plus 7 is 15, but I'm not going to be able to put both of those digits inside the tenths place. So I put my 5, which would be the ones of 15. I put that down, and then I regroup my 1 into the ones place. So now I have 5 plus 3, which is 8, plus that 1 that was left over from the 15, which is going to make it 9. 5 8/10 plus 3 7/10 equals 9 5/10. You may have noticed that when I solved this problem, I wrote my problem vertically to again ensure that everything was aligned. For the next problem, we are going to add 19 5/100 plus 12 7/10. Again, I'm going to create a place value chart. This time I see that I have a tens place, so I'll have to add my tens place and a hundredths place as well. My next step is to plug my numbers into my place value chart. After I plug my numbers into my chart, I'm going to go ahead and check it out because I noticed that this time I have an empty spot right here. Now I'm going to annex my 0, which works as a placeholder 0. Then I will be ready to add. I'm going to start with my hundredths place, since that's all the way to the right. 5 plus 0 is 5. 0 plus 7 is 7. My decimal point, 9 plus 2 is going to be 11. So I drop my 1, which would be in the ones place of 11, and regroup the next one, which was the tens place of the 11. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. So 19 5/100 plus 12 7/10 equals 31 7/500. we're not always going to be seeing addition problems, especially with decimals, in just number form. Sometimes we're going to be seeing addition of decimal problems using models as well. Oh, how do we say this decimal? This model might look a little bit familiar when we were talking about decimals and comparing numbers. We would see models like this. Now, inside of this whole model, we're going to see how many little squares it would take to make up one whole. I notice that I have the same number of squares in each of my columns, so I'm just going to start by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 pieces inside each column. So instead of counting each individual square, I'm just going to count by tens to see how many we have. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So I have 100 total pieces inside my model. 100 would be my denominator because that's how many total pieces there are. My next step is to count how many pieces are shaded. I'm going to use that same strategy of counting by 10 for all of the whole columns that are shaded. When I get to the individual squares, then I'm going to start counting by ones. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. So I have 65 total squares out of 100 shaded. That fraction would be 65 hundredths, which as a decimal would be 0.65. Now this is my tenths place here, and I can look at how many whole columns are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole columns are shaded, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individual squares. For this model here, the entire thing is shaded. That means that this model would be one whole because there are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 out of 100 shaded. 100 over 100 equals one whole. The last model that we're going to look at before we start adding using models is this right here. Now when I look at this one, I see that I have two models, one that is completely shaded and one that is partially shaded. What I like to do to help me remember that there will be a decimal point is I like to put a little decimal point right here in between the whole and the part of a whole. I know that this is one whole, which would be written as a 1. 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42. So this would be 1 and 42 hundredths. I have 10, 20, 30, 40. I have 4 tenths shaded, and then the 2 hundredths shaded. Great job. Let's go ahead and work on adding a couple of problems using models. We are going to find the sum of model 1 and 2. So there we see that word sum again, which means the answer to an addition problem. When I look at this model, I notice that there is a whole. This one has one whole, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. So this would be 1 and 85 hundredths. I'm going to go ahead and write that up here. And then over here, when I look, I don't have any whole columns shaded. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individual squares. So this time I have 0 wholes, 0 columns that are shaded, 6 individual squares. Now I am ready to start adding these two numbers. The first thing that I am going to do is create my place value chart. So I see that I have the ones, tenths, hundredths places. Those are the places that I'm going to add into my place value chart. I will then plug the numbers into the place value chart. My next step is to begin adding. I notice that all of my places are filled. We will begin adding from the right. So I'm going to start with my hundredths place. 5 plus 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. Lots of regrouping in these examples today. So the 1 goes down, I regroup my next one. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Drop that decimal point, and 1 plus 0 equals 1. So the sum of these two models, when I add them together, is going to be 1 whole and 91 hundredths. We're going to do one more example together, guys and gals. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much for all of your hard work with me today. This time I see that I have 1, 2 wholes, and then a part of a whole. So this time it's going to be 2 and 0 columns are shaded. I have 0 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would be 2 and 6 hundredths plus, when I look at model 2, I have to keep moving my poster out of the way. When I look at model 2, I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92. So 0 wholes plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns and 2 individual squares. Okay, I'm going to bring this back around for just a moment so that we can see it as we are adding. And I can use my same place values as I used last time. 2.06, 0.92. I'm going to start from the right. 6 plus 2 equals 8. 0 plus 9 equals 9. Put my decimal point, and 2 plus 0 equals 2. So the sum of these two models would be 2 and 98 hundredths. Thank you so much for working with me today, guys and gals. Have a wonderful day.